As you may recall, a month ago, while commenting on the events in the Baltic region and the damaged submarine cables, I stated that the provocative actions of the North Atlantic Alliance against Russia could potentially trigger a new global war. Unfortunately, as time has shown, everything now happening indicates that a global war could break out at any moment. NATO countries' attempts to block Russia's access to the Baltic Sea are only exacerbating the situation in this region of the world. When NATO countries started to make baseless accusations against Russia regarding damaged submarine cables, it quickly became apparent that there was a motive behind this. The fact is that the story of the damaged underwater cables allowed the North Atlantic Alliance to establish a Baltic Sentry, a joint military operation, allegedly designed to protect the Baltic Sea's underwater infrastructure. As a result, dozens of NATO warships and military planes began patrolling the Baltic Sea. In the last 70 days alone, NATO countries have detained 5 Russian oil tankers. However, the West never managed to prove that the Russian vessels damaged the underwater cables. Russia's reaction to NATO's provocative actions in the Baltic Sea was not long in coming. Assistant to the President of the Russian Federation, Nikolai Patrushev, officially stated that the NATO military operation Baltic Sentry is not intended to protect underwater cables, but to deprive Russia of access to the Baltic Sea. At the same time, he noted that Russia would never allow the West to turn the Baltic Sea into NATO's internal sea. Moreover, Moscow has also officially stated that Russia will give a mirror response to all NATO's provocations in the Baltic Sea. Furthermore, Moscow has also promised to protect its civilian vessels, and even detain NATO warships, if they attempt to use force against Russian tankers and bulk carriers. And, as time has shown, these were not mere empty words. So, a few hours ago, it became known that the French Navy Atlantique II maritime patrol aircraft began chasing a Russian oil tanker in the Baltic Sea. It is noteworthy that this maritime patrol aircraft was armed with Exocet anti-ship missiles. Seeing this, the Russian Corvette Boyki decided to punish the French maritime patrol aircraft with the help of the ship-based air defense system, Polymentry. In particular, a Russian Corvette managed to lock onto a French military plane. Immediately after that, the Russian sailors rudely ordered the French pilots to leave the Russian tanker alone, and also to leave the area for their own safety. In case of refusal to obey the order, the Russian sailors promised to destroy the French aircraft. Reports indicate that the French pilots decided not to tempt fate. They stopped the pursuit of the Russian tanker and left the area. A few hours after this incident, the French Ministry of Defense blamed Russia for the attack on the French military plane. According to the French Ministry of Defense, the missiles from the Russian Corvette were aimed at the French military plane, which constitutes an act of intimidation and a genuine attack intended to hinder the fulfillment of the combat mission. Moreover, commenting on this incident, one of the Russian sailors admitted that the command had ordered them to shoot down this French military plane if the pilots refused to obey the order. Thus, tension in the Baltic region continues to grow rapidly. My dear truth seekers, I am absolutely sure that if the North Atlantic Alliance continues to pursue Russian tankers in the Baltic Sea, we will soon witness the destruction of NATO planes and even warships.